Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast presented by the Six Pack Coverage Media Network. It's your host, Jeff Farrell, here with my co-host, Andrew Tanzi, coming at you to break down everything you need to know for the final week of the 2022 NFL regular season. We have made it to week 18. I am back off of my second bye week of the year last year, having baby number 3. Shout out to my wife and baby Cody, and thank you, Dave, for filling in. Did you guys miss me? You hosted the show very well again. I was
Thank
impressed.
you. I'm a natural. I don't think I need you anymore. I could run a one-man show here.
Maybe next year it'll be a one-man show. We'll see if he kicks me out or not. Before we get started with the breakdown, everything, obviously, just wanted to say our thoughts and prayers out to Damar Hamlin, his family, friends, the entire Buffalo Bills organization. That was an incredibly scary scene on Monday Night Football. And really just a reality check that there's so many more important things than football, more important things than our bets, our favorite teams. All of that is secondary to the health and safety of all the players. And all we can do is just really hope for the best for Damar and his family. It sounds like we're getting some positive updates to some degree, at least today, on Wednesday, and hopefully he's trending in the right direction. So obviously keep him in your thoughts and prayers. And yeah, it's a tough scene on Monday.
Yeah, well said. Definitely a tough scene.
All right, with that, we will recap last week. Favorite bets of the week. You guys killed it. Start off with you getting back to even on the season, 8-8 overall record. The Steelers, you didn't take the points, you didn't need the points.
Yes.
You went with the outright money line victory, and they came through for you.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett came through for me again. I'll touch back on him in a few seconds here.
Oh man, we might be touching back on him at the same time then. Our favorite hero of the week. I was right there with you on the Steelers. Dave got a nice win on his favorite bet of the week. Goes to 2-1 on the year as our guest of the show. Packers and Vikings over 48. Packers obviously did their part. The Vikings had some late scores to get that one over. I also had that one as well. So good call by Dave there. Long shots of the week. You had it was kind of up and down. Brian Robinson for 75 rushing yards. That one, I believe that leg came home because he had like 25 carries or whatever. But the football is getting an outright win did not happen. Did you know that Carson Wentz was starting when you bet that? Like, I can't remember when that news came out.
Yeah, I did. I liked the matchup
Okay.
because I thought they would just be able to I wanted to see Carson Wentz throw under 30 passes, which is what happened, but he still managed to throw 3 interceptions and just basically, Deshaun Watson still didn't look good. He only completed 9 passes in the game.
Yeah.
3 of them were touchdowns. It was just I just thought it was a great matchup for the Commanders to be able to lean on the run, which they did to some extent. I mean, it was a
They
typical
did as much as they could.
it
It
was a
felt
typical
like.
Brian Robinson game, like 20 plus carries, averaging like 3.7 yards
Yeah.
per carry. And Wentz just pretty much imploded. I could have probably lived with like 1 interception. They could at least have a chance to win the game. But
Yeah.
pretty disappointing because I like that matchup for them a lot.
Yeah. Dave, another brutal loss in his long shots of the week. I feel like every time he comes on, he has a really good leg of his parlay, and then one misses. So he had the Steelers money line, got the win there. Then George Pickens only needed 40 receiving yards. I think he finished with like 3 catches for 29 yards. Unfortunately, the Steelers passing game really didn't do anything until like the final drive, and Pickens was not a big part of it. So tough loss. Prop sheet went 4-5 on the week,
Jeez.
117 and 106 overall. So we'll see if we can finish off the year over 500 this week. We have an 11-game cushion. I think we can do it.
Yes, I would hope so.
Let's hope. All right. Heroes and zeros of the week before we get on to week number 18. I believe we might have the same hero of the week based on your comments. Who do you have?
Yeah, I pretty much didn't even need to change my notes from the prior week because second week in a row, it's Kenny Pickett here for leading yet another game-winning drive. It just seems like when the Steelers get in this up-tempo offense towards the end of the game, it's when everything kind of clicks for them. So I don't know why they aren't really implementing that throughout the game. I guess they just like it to come down to these final drives. But yeah, Kenny Pickett led a beautiful drive. Najee Harris with a great catch, and the Steelers come home for the win.
Yeah, and I mean, the one thing we know about these Steelers games over the past, month and a half, 2 months, they're all one-possession games. They all come down to the end, and it seems like more often than not, Pickett's been really good in that situation, really clutch, even if he hasn't been putting up the eye-popping numbers. So, yeah, Kenny Pickett for cashing all of our Steelers tickets, and we'll see if he can do it again this week, or at least I will. See where you are on that game. All right, who's your zero of the week from week 17?
Yeah, I just touched on it. It's Carson Wentz and somewhat Ron Rivera too, who supposedly thought they were not did not have a chance at being eliminated from the playoffs. So maybe that's why he threw Wentz out there this week. He's let me get Carson out there and see if he wants to play for in week 18 for us to clinch the playoffs or something. Well, turns out Wentz cost you your shot at the playoffs. Just an atrocious performance. I just didn't get it. Like, I know Heineke hasn't looked great recently, but I feel like the season started out so poorly for them when Heineke came in and at least got them in a position to where they were playing for the playoffs. And then after a bad game against the best defense in the league, you bench them for Wentz, and then there goes your season. So just pretty disastrous. So now Wentz is back on the bench this week. So
yeah, how many times can you get benched in one season? I mean, him and Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan, yeah, that's what I was going to say. They're in a competition. And Matt Ryan could play again this week. Who knows if Sam Ellinger struggles if they don't bring Ryan in.
Who the heck knows with either of these teams? But yeah, I think it's pretty clear to everybody that Heineke gives them a better chance to win. But for whatever reason, they went with Wentz last week and they got.
I think Matt Ryan's going to get he's going to play again this week. And then the Colts are going to say, if we were to have made the playoffs, Matt Ryan would be benched next week.
Just so everyone knows, he would have been benched again.
Yeah.
My zero of the week. I know you're sick and tired of hearing me talk about this, but I'm going to take one more chance here. Anybody that said the Jacksonville Jaguars had nothing to play for and should have rested their starters versus the Houston Texans, because it was simply not true. And I heard it 100 different times from people that talk about the NFL, bet on the NFL, cover the NFL. Scott Hansen's doing Red Zone saying, I don't know why the starters are in this game is meaningless. Actually, it's not meaningless. The Jaguars can still get a wild card spot, and all they had to do was take care of the hapless Houston Texans like they did. They pulled the starters early. They covered it perfectly. And I was just getting really sick and tired of people saying that game meant nothing, because it didn't, and they could still make the wild card.
Right, it was like less than 10% chance to get a wild card. I ended up with you on the Jags because I thought it got way too blown out.
Yes, it was down to -3.
Yeah, so that's when I bought in, because it was clear whether people agreed the game was meaningless or not. The Jaguars were playing their starters. So at that point, I'm like, why not take this number at this point? So yeah,
but it makes sense in that scenario. You're playing the worst team in the league. It's not like you have to beat the 49ers outright to have a 10% chance. Take care of the worst team in football. Yeah. Like, it made sense.
Yeah, I ended up with you. I thought that it got way too out of control once it hit a flat 3.
Yeah. All right. With that, we will move on to week 18 here. Obviously, we'll go through each game. It's going to be a little bit different for us breaking down the games. It's not as much of like statistics on the field stuff. A lot of these is going to be who has what to play for, what the scenarios are, what the motivation is for each team. So we'll kind of give our best thoughts as much as we can here. First game up is Kansas City Chiefs and the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a Saturday 4:30 Eastern game. Raiders are up to +9.5. The over-under is 52.5. The Chiefs likely get the number 1 seed in the AFC with a win here. It's kind of weird because the Bengals Bills game is still kind of in limbo, and if they're going to reschedule that or continue to finish it, if not, it would go based off of win percentage, and then the Chiefs would get the 1 seed with this game. But either way,
they need to win the game. So
they need to win the game.
Yeah.
Injuries here: L'Jarius Sneed, Joe Thuney, and Sky Moore all questionable for the Chiefs, and then Jared Stidham going to be the starter again for the Raiders. Devontae Adams was on the injury report today, but it sounds like he's going to play. Do you have a bet on this one, Chiefs or Raiders?
Well, I love the Chiefs and teasers before it went back up to 9.5. So it was at 7.5, 8.5, now back up to 9.5. So probably just going to sit this one out. A quite, I guess, confusing performance, you could say, by Jarrett Stidham last week, coming in and lighting up the best defense in the NFL. I don't know who could have possibly predicted that. Chiefs defense, obviously not as good as the Niners. So I think the Raiders can hang if they kind of run the ball, slow the game down. But I really don't trust this Raiders defense whatsoever. It wouldn't shock me if the Chiefs put up 35 plus points here. So, I think the Raiders can have some success on offense, but I don't know that I see another 30-point outing by Jarrett Stidham here. Would still probably lean the Raiders. Chiefs have been over touchdown favorites in now 4 straight games. They're only 1-3 against the spread in those games. And the story with the Chiefs has always been they tend to win these games, but they just don't cover them. So if this game did dip back to like 8.5, I'd be all over the Chiefs and teasers.
So you're telling me you have one final chance in the 2022 regular season to bet on the Las Vegas Raiders, and you're not going to take that chance? Come on, man.
I mean, was Derek Carr the problem? Like,
apparently he was.
I kind of stuck my leg out for him last week. It was saying he's not the issue, but apparently, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I feel like if Stidham comes out and plays well again this game, Carr had to be the problem.
Yeah.
I'm back in the Raiders here. Get one more chance. I'm going to take it for the ride. I have them at +9.5. Actually, I have +8.5, so you can get a better number than I have right now. Stidham looked good last week. He did something that's pretty fundamental to being a quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. Throw the ball to Devontae Adams, and good things will happen. It's really not that complicated. For some reason, Derek Carr didn't want to do that. 11 targets. Adam finished with 7 for 153 and 2. Had like 3 or 4 just circus real catches. If he's going to be targeting Devontae Adams, I think he's going to be able to have success against a much easier matchup in the Chiefs defense here. And like you just said, the Chiefs have not been winning by margin. 5 of their last 7 games have come down to 1 score. And we just saw them take a pretty pathetic Broncos team to the wire in a 3-point win. So there's too many points. It's a home game in division. The Raiders are still trying to win. Josh McDaniels knows he needs to do everything he can to try and keep his job for next year. Taking the points. And I am sprinkling a little bit on the money line as well.
Bold.
I wouldn't take the Chiefs and teasers personally.
I don't. This is what they do. They win these games. They just don't cover them.
But it's going to be so uncomfortable. Like, I don't even want to be in that position where it's going to be 2 minutes left in the game. It's a tie game. Like, the Chiefs are probably
the Chiefs played a
but...
similar game in Week 18 last year. And I think it was a Saturday game versus the Broncos where they needed to I guess it was to clinch the 1 seed or something. And
that was like the Drew Lock game. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in the first half.
And it ended up being pretty close. I don't remember what happened. I think there was like a pick 6 or fumble return the Chiefs got that pretty much ended. Yeah. So I'd lean the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders win the game though. So
okay. Any prop looks for you here?
Nothing in this one.
I'm going to look at Devontae Adams over receiving yards. Kind of touched on that already. And then Patrick Mahomes, I think his passing yard line was in like the upper 290s. He is 429 yards away from Peyton Manning's all-time record. Obviously, that would be pretty tough to do in a single game. But if you do want to look at some alt lines, maybe a FanDuel post like a 350 or 375 yards, put that into a parlay or something, just in case Mahomes is chasing for the record, that you should obviously get pretty good odds on that. So
I don't know. I kind of like those the incentive ones and the records in games that don't really have too much meaning to them. Like I don't see the Chiefs altering their game plan to try and get Mahomes the record. Like,
I mean, what are they going to alter? Last week they threw the ball like 55 times.
Yeah, that's
and
just
Isaiah
the Chiefs,
Pacheco couldn't get a carry to save his freaking life. Like, they're going to throw the ball 50 times regardless of what the game means.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, it's not even necessarily about the records. Like, the Chiefs are going to throw the ball 50 times anyway.
What's the most yards he's thrown for this year?
We'll call it 500. I don't know. I don't have
446. How far away
he's done it. 429.
He's gone over 400 yards twice.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. See.
I don't know if you get a line on it, but even if you get like an alt line of like 350, like
you can probably
gunning for it, but he comes up short. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move along here to the battle of the AFC South, the Saturday night game. The Titans against the Jaguars. Jags are 6-point home favorites. The over/under is 39.5. Josh Dobbs starting quarterback for the Texans. For the Titans. Big injury report here as usual. Zach Cunningham, Bud Dupree, both out. Christian Fulton, Amani Hooker, Jeffrey Simmons, Terrell Basham, all questionable. And then for the Jags, Trayvon Walker, Brandon Sheriff, and Rayshawn Jenkins, all questionable. This is a rematch of Week 14 where the Jags crushed the Titans 36-22. Trevor Lawrence torched this secondary, 368 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I know we have some Jags division futures that we were really excited about in the beginning of the year. Thought they were dead, and now they're alive again. So I'm certainly riding them. I know you are too. Do you have a play on the current spread or total here? Jags laying 6.
I don't have a current play. I'm going to try my best to sit this one out just because I have not only the Jags division future, but I also bet the Titans to miss the playoffs. Yeah. So pretty heavily invested in this one already. If this hits 7, I would have to take the Titans. It's already taken everything in me to not take the Titans at 6.5 here. I just think the Jags love is getting a little bit out of hand here. You obviously have a big rest advantage for the Titans in general, and then they obviously rested a lot of their star players. The run defense for the Titans with the guys back healthy should be back to their strength and be able to stop ETN here. I know Lawrence obviously had a massive success through the air against his secondary, but Josh Dobbs, like he didn't look great, but he at least looked competent throwing forward passes, which is more than we can say for Malik Willis. So I definitely think he is an upgrade from Willis. And I just got to give some trust to Mike Vrabel in this situation. He's going to be able to keep this within, a touchdown here. I'm expecting somewhat of a slugfest type of game here. So, and you also have Derrick Henry who performed well against the Jaguars, 121, 130, 215 yards in his last 3 games with 6 total touchdowns against the Jaguars. So I just think the spread's like 2 points too high. So I might end up on the Titans. It's just I don't really want to cut into my profit if the Jags end up winning by 14 points here in terms of my division futures and stuff. But if it hits 7, I will absolutely be on the Titans.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I'm leaning Jags at the current numbers under 7. If you can get a 5.5 or a 6, I think you'd probably lean to the Jags. Obviously Vrabel and his just coaching ability is the one thing holding me back. But I do think it's a really good matchup for the Jags offense. We talked about the Titans' strength of the run defense. I think that's fine because Trevor Lawrence and this passing offense has looked so good. So probably a slight lean to the Jags for me, but no need to play it because of our nice positions coming into this game that hopefully will cash.
Yeah.
Prop looks for me in this one. Definitely going to be looking at the Jags passing offense. I think we have some lines on this game. Let's see. Trevor Lawrence passing yards, 252.5. I think that's a pretty decent look. Evan Ingram has been awesome recently. He's 45.5 right now. He was 11 for 162 and 2 against the Titans a few weeks ago. He's basically had 4 straight weeks of awesome games. And then he put up a dud against the Texans last week, but not a big deal. And then Zay Jones, I haven't seen. Okay. It looks like he's
47.5. Yeah. I took that earlier.
Okay, if you want to talk about that for a second, you can. But yeah, I'm definitely on Lawrence and Ingram over receiving yards.
Yeah, so I took Zay Jones over 47.5. He's been a ghost the last 2 games, and I think it's kind of giving us a little bit of a nice buy low spot here. The game script just really wasn't there for him last week. Lawrence only threw 21 passes, and ETN had a ton of success on the ground. The game before that was that kind of bad weather game versus the Jets. Didn't really need to do a ton through the air again. So like I said, I think that's getting us a nice discount. Prior to those games, he was really coming on as one of the top targets in the offense. He went over this total in 4 of the prior 5 games, never seeing fewer than 7 targets. And the last matchup versus Tennessee, he saw 12 targets, which led to 8 receptions and 77 yards. So I think this line's a little bit too low. So I'll be looking at Zay Jones.
Okay, I like that. Sticking in the passing game theme, what about Treylon Burks over 36.5 receiving yards? 8 targets, 4 catches for 66 yards with Dobbs last week. Had that insane play where he like somehow broke a tackle, stayed in bounds, walked the tightrope, broke another tackle. That was a fun one. Would you look at him? I think that's a little bit low, 36.5.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I said, Dobbs again, he looked competent last week. They ended with, I think he ended up with like close to 40 pass attempts in the game, so it doesn't look like they're going to hold him back too much. It just kind of it comes down to how much success they're going to have on the ground. Now, you would think that the Jaguars are going to try and force Dobbs to throw the ball. So, yeah, I think if you bet on Burks, you're kind of hoping for one of those big plays from him, which he obviously has the ability to do. So, yeah, I don't mind taking a flyer on him.
All right. With that, we'll move on to the Sunday slate, starting at the 1:00 games. The New York Jets against the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins are down to a 1-point home underdog with the announcement that Tua Tagovailoa is out. It is likely going to be Skylar Thompson. I haven't officially ruled out Teddy Bridgewater, but all indications is that it will be Thompson. Jets are eliminated from playoff contention. The Dolphins need a win to stay alive. Bunch of injuries for the Dolphins here as well, in addition to the quarterback position. Xavier Howard, Eric Fisher, Bradley Chubb, Teron Armstead, all questionable. This is a Dolphins team that is on a major losing streak here in desperate need of a win. The Jets will try and play spoiler. Do you have a bet on this one, side or total?
Jets are also on a pretty big losing streak, so both of them kind of coming in ice cold here.
Very fair point.
I took the Jets at +3, and even at the pick 'em right now with Skylar Thompson at quarterback, I don't mind taking the Jets here. He really struggled when they played the Jets earlier in the season. It was Skylar Thompson again. He really struggled. They lost 40-17. That was with Zach Wilson under center for the Jets. Thompson was 19-33 for only 166 yards and an interception. Their only success on offense came on the ground. And the Jets have been vulnerable at times against the run this season. They're still ranked top 10 in DVOA against the run, though. And I just think this Dolphins offense has an extremely tough time consistently moving the ball against this defense with Skylar Thompson. I'm still not impressed with Mike White. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in 3 straight starts now. But I'd still probably give the quarterback advantage to the Jets here. And I think he can do enough to put up 17 to 20 points here, which I think ultimately could be enough to win this game. So, still lean to the Jets at -1 here. But once it starts creeping like 2.5, it'd be probably a stay away from me.
Yeah, I think the side's about right here. I did play the under on this one. I think 38.5 still a pretty good number. We know the both The Jets offense has been pretty brutal the last 4 weeks. 17 points is the most they've scored in those 4 games. They just put up 6 against a really bad Seahawks defense. And Skylar Thompson, like you mentioned, completing 54% of his passes, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. And I think the Dolphins, when they did have some success in the run game earlier this year, that was really set up by the pass. I think it's a little bit different when you don't really have that threat with Skylar Thompson not being able to do the job to get Waddle and Tyreek the ball. So I played the under.
Okay, like that.
Probably no props for me in this one. I was on Garrett Wilson last week. Didn't go well. Mike White didn't look good. Tough to trust the Dolphins offense. Probably a pass for me all the way around. What do you have?
If we get a buy low spot on Garrett Wilson, he still had 11 targets last week. So
did he really have that many targets?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Wow.
Yeah, 11 targets, 3 catches for 18 yards. So
so bad.
It was just one of those. Yeah, it was just one of those kind of games. But the target volume's still consistently been there with Mike White. So if we get a buy low spot, well, what was his line last week in terms of yards?
I want to say it was like 62.5.
Maybe right, if it's in the 50s. If it dips in the 50s, I don't mind taking a buy low spot too.
All right, fair enough. All right, next game on the board here, Cleveland Browns against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are 2.5-point home favorites. The over-under is 40.5. This one's been bet up a little bit. Weather is going to be around 40 degrees, chance of rain, nothing too crazy. Steelers still alive for that final AFC wildcard spot. They need a win. The Browns are eliminated. Offensive lineman Jack Conklin, questionable for the Browns. And then for the Steelers, Miles Jack, questionable. They are expected to get Ahkello Witherspoon, cornerback, off of IR. Do you have a play here on the Browns or the Steelers in the battle for the AFC North?
Well, it's not a battle for the AFC
battle
North,
in the AFC
North. The Steelers are in like a weird spot depending on what they do with this Bills game, because if they end up not playing the Bills Bengals game, if they end up not playing it or counting as a tie, the Bills then become locked into the number 2 seed, I believe. So then would have no incentive to play anyone against.
Don't they have to tell us that before this week?
That's what I think. That's what I'm saying.
Like, they keep saying it's to be determined. Like, they have to tell us what's going to happen. Like, the Bills need to know if they need to play this game or not.
Yeah, but like, so the Steelers need the Patriots to lose, but if the Bills then are locked into the 2 seed, they'll sit players against the Patriots. So it's just kind of a weird situation. The Steelers are going to come out here and try to win regardless. I'm not saying that it really affects this game. It's just kind of a weird spot, but. In terms of this game, I'm in the Browns, on the Browns and teasers. I think that's the safest option. Steelers have only won 1 game outside of 8 points the entire season. Only 3 of the Browns' 9 losses are by more than 8. So, this is a typical AFC North game. I'm expecting another type of slugfest game here. Deshaun Watson still, I'm not betting on Deshaun Watson. I think the Steelers' run defense, they grade out well, but they still look pretty vulnerable at times. So I think Chubb can do enough on the ground. You're not expecting the Steelers' offense to exactly light up the scoreboard here. And like I said, just expecting a low-scoring game here. I bet the under 40.5, which I'm pretty shocked. I expected this to be like 37.5. I expected to move by now. The Steelers have gone under 40.5 in 5 straight games. The Browns have gone under it in all of Watson's starts so far this season. So that's probably my favorite bet in this game. But just being that I'm on the under, I'll also take the Browns in a teaser up to 8.5.
Yeah, totally with you on the under here. Dropped down to 39. I'm like, all right, we read this one right. It's looking good. And then all of a sudden it got bet up to 40.5. So I don't know what's going on here, but totally agree on that one. I think the Browns and teasers are fine. I like the Steelers here under a field goal. I bet them on the money line, bet them -2.5. I just think they're a better team than the Browns all the way around.
Remember, must win doesn't mean will win. Mm-hmm. Will win doesn't mean will cover.
Excellent point by you. Something for all of us to remember throughout this entire week. However, I do want to say whether this game was being played in week 1, week 10, week 18, whether the Browns were trying to get into the playoffs, it doesn't matter to me. This is just, I think the Steelers are a better team. They're playing at home. They've been better over the last few weeks, and Deshaun Watson has been absolutely terrible. He's been under 50% of his passes completed in 2 straight games. I know the Steelers are playing a lot of one-possession games, but I still have a ton of confidence that they're going to come out on top. I think they're the better coach team. And this is also to keep Mike Tomlin's epic streak alive of regular season finishes over 500. So I'm all in on the steel curtain here, and I have them at a pretty juicy price to make the playoffs. So I'll be rooting for the Bills.
Oh, I have that too.
Did you?
Yeah, I do.
Nice.
I just think the Steelers have really been walking the tightrope the last couple weeks. So
Yeah, look, they're not a great offense. They're not gonna win by margin.
I think the Browns could win the game. I do.
They suck. The Browns haven't been
good. I knew
that.
I mean, look, they suck. The Steelers
what
aren't
if they showed you last week they won because
nothing.
Carson
I've been advocating
the
against the Browns. I've been betting against them.
So
since
why are they going to come out and win here against the Steelers team that's won like 6 of 7 games?
I just think it's a closer. Like you're saying, all these Steelers games are one possession games. Are coming down to Kenny Pickett last second drives. The game before extended the drive because of a bad spot by the ref. So it's like I don't know. They're just walking the tightrope here.
Yeah, but those are also against much better teams.
It's a coin flip game. The Ravens with Tyler Huntley are that much better than the Browns.
The defense.
The Raiders are that much better than the Browns. Like it's I think they're comparable teams. You could argue the Browns have a better offense than the Ravens.
True. The Steelers won and covered both those games. They're going to do it again here.
All right. I'm not disagreeing. Like I hope the Steelers win, but Browns and tees, I don't think you can go wrong.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Prop looks for you in this one?
Yeah, I'll be looking at Najee rush attempts. 22, 16, 24 the last 3 weeks. They've really been leaning on him. Seems to be working for the offense. Browns obviously have a weaker run defense. He's not always the most efficient, so kind of similar to Brian Robinson last week. We took his attempts. I'll be looking for Najee at like 16.5 or 17.5 attempts.
I was going to say Najee yards, but I'm fine with attempts as well. I think that makes sense. It's probably all I got in this one. Okay. All right, moving on here to the AFC South. Houston Texans taking on the Indianapolis Colts, and it's just quite a fun game for all of us to watch this weekend. The Colts are laying 2.5 points at home. The over-under is 38.5. Nico Collins, Derek Stingley, Dameon Pierce remain out for the Texans. Sam Ehlinger starting at quarterback for the Colts. Yannick Ngakoue out. Kenny Moore, Ashton Dulin, and Kylan Granson all questionable. This is a really dumb game. It's a fake game. The Texans are trying to get the number 1 overall pick. Even though, that being said, I still took the Texans here. I grabbed them at +3. Hey. To me, look, it's obviously disgusting. It's more just like it's a fake game. Neither team really needs to win. Who the heck knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, but neither team needs to win, but the Texans want to lose.
So do the Colts. Why don't they want to improve their draft position? Like the Texans are the only team that can get a better draft pick by losing.
So the Texans lose, the Bears lose. The Bears get first pick, right? Definitely. Because the Texans have the tie, so that would technically give them a better record, right?
If they both lose, the Texans get it. The only way the Texans win and the Bears
lose. The Bears win. Wait. That's what I'm saying. If the Texans win and the Bears lose, the Bears get first pick. That's correct. That's what I meant to say. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. Okay. Why would the Texans win this game?
I didn't say they're going to win, but I think they could win. I think they could lose by 3 or less. It's a fake game. Either team could win. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, Did you
watch the Falcons and Cardinals last week? It was a fake game. It ended up being a 1-point game. I hit the Cardinals and I won because it was a stupid game. And David Blau covered. Like, I don't know. You have the better quarterback and you're getting 3 points. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah, this game. I have no comment on this game. I'm staying away from it.
If you had to bet it, you'd bet the Texans, though.
I'd probably take the Colts because I think I would just take the Colts, get under a few.
Points in a fake game.
No, I'm not. You said if I had to bet it,
you would.
Yeah, because I think I'm getting the best unit on the field with the Colts defense.
There are no units. It's just a bunch of guys. There's no units in this game. There's no stats. It's just go play football and we'll see who wins. I mean, I don't even know what the units are here.
Okay. No props.
No props. Don't even look at the props in this game. Rex Burkhead, maybe.
Oh, God.
All right. Let's go to our next game here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are 4.5-point home favorites. The over-under is 40.5. Bucs are locked into the 4 seed in the NFC. Todd Bowles says he plans to play the starters. Likely not for the whole game, but we're not really sure of the whole game plan here. For me, this one was pretty simple. Similar handicap to what I just said. I took the Bucs. I took them at better numbers than this, but I still think +4.5 is pretty insane. Even if Tom Brady's only going to play for the first half, it's still a fake game. You're getting points in it. Like I said, we just saw the Cardinals play the Falcons last week. The Falcons were bet out to a 7-point favorite in that game against David Blau, and it was a fake game. It was a toss-up. It came down to the final play, and they won and didn't even come close to covering. So this here for me is obviously a bet on the Bucs. I bet them on the money line as well because why couldn't they win this game?
Yeah, I'm with you. This one opened at 7. I thought it was absolutely absurd.
And then it went to 7.5, and my mind was like gonna melt. Like,
and then it went to 3.5. Now, even 4.5, I'm with you. I think there's a ton of value on this. Like you just made the case. They just played against a team of backups last week and didn't deserve to win. They end up winning by a point. And the Falcons, like, they're starting a rookie quarterback who's basically a backup. Is he really that much different than who is it?
Kyle
Blaine
Trask
Gabbert
or Blaine
and Kyle
Gabbert?
Trask.
Like,
Yeah, both of
they're
them.
all
If
the
they
same
play.
guy.
That's what I'm saying. So like 4.5 points here. This is all Bucks for me here. I like your sprinkle on the money line too, because like you said, why can't the Bucks win this?
Especially if they're playing the starters. What if Brady and the offense come out
Even
and score a touchdown on the first drive?
Well, that's the thing. That's was my other thing. Even if Brady's in there, you said the first half, even if he's in there for the first quarter. Now look, it's still the Bucks offense.
Right. They don't want to get too carried away.
But yeah, like even if they drive the field once and score 7 points, you're already like in the driver's seat.
And which we're going to talk about in some of these games, it's such a great live betting opportunity. Like if the Bucks offense comes out and they have their starters on the field and they score a touchdown or two, even if they're bringing in all the backups, you can then take the Falcons live, like +3.5, +4.5 if you're uncomfortable just riding out. So I think this is also a game where if the Bucks starters do come in, look at the Falcons live. That's fine. But I mean, pregame, it's obviously Bucks.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you.
Probably no props here. Maybe Tyler Algier or rush yards. He's been pretty good, but
it's pretty high last week. I wanted to bet it last week, but it ended up being like upper 70s. I think
I had the same thought. Yeah,
I think he just cleared it. I don't know what he ended with, but yeah, it was close. So yeah, probably stay away because I'm going to guess he's probably going to be in that same range.
Yeah, I would agree.
He had 83 yards last week. So,
yeah. All right. Move on to our next game here. A similar theme going on here. The Carolina Panthers against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are laying 3.5 points at home. The over-under is 41.5. Both these teams eliminated from playoff contention with the Bucks win last week. Injuries, cornerback J.C. Horn out for the Panthers. For the Saints, Andy Dalton somehow still the starting quarterback. Even when they're eliminated from the playoffs, they still won't give Jameis Winston a start, which is crazy to me. Then Andres Pete, Marcus May, Ryan Ramczyk, and Marshawn Lattimore all questionable here. I'm on the Panthers here. You're on the Panthers here as well?
Yeah, I love the Panthers here. Since Darnold took over, the Panthers are 7th overall on offense by way of DVOA. Actually,
okay.
Number one in passing offense. Now, take that with
Excuse me?
Yeah, take that with a grain of salt, because obviously I don't think the Panthers are a top passing offense. I think it's just more been efficiency built on top of a strong run game where Darnold hasn't had to throw the ball much. But I think Darnold's looked okay outside of, what was it, the Steelers game maybe?
Which is kind of understandable. I mean, that's a great defense.
Yeah, I mean, clearly this is the best this offense has looked all season with this carousel of quarterbacks that they've had in there. The run game, we see the potential of the run game. It's not the most consistent. It feels like they're either dominating or they pretty much can't get anything going on the ground. And the Saints also are playing a lot better of late, ranked 6th in overall DVOA in the last 5 games. But these teams are just, to me, pretty dead equal as I look at them. So you're getting over a field goal here. Has a ton of value. Neither team's obviously playing for anything in terms of playoffs, but Sam Darnold obviously trying to prove he's a starting quarterback in this league. Steve Wilkes arguably trying to earn a head coaching job. Neither of these teams have really shown any quit potential, and guys on both sides have a lot to prove here. So I do expect a pretty hard fought game here. So from a motivational standpoint, I'm pretty much treating this like a normal game.
I think the Panthers have the edge in the motivational standpoint. Even, I mean,
yeah, I don't. I feel like when you have a guy like Dalton who's still trying to,
what's he gonna prove? What do you mean, a guy like Dalton?
I'm just saying, like, he knows he's not like a lockdown starting quarterback, so he still wants to go out and have strong performances.
What's he gonna prove? He's still a backup quarterback. We already know that.
Well, you could say the same about Sam Darnold, but he's.
The thing I was gonna say is I've heard some quotes out of the Panthers locker room that like they really like Steve Wilkes. They're campaigning for him to be the coach next year. I think the players are gonna come out and play hard for him because they want him to get the job.
I don't know. I expect. I like maybe even
Dennis Allen. They would throw him to the curb and run him over with a bus if they want. I mean, if Sean Payton knocked on the door, Dennis Allen would be kicked off the bus so fast you wouldn't even know what happened.
Yeah, I guess. But still, I don't think it's enough of an edge in the motivation factor where I factored in at all.
No, it just helps out. It's another game where it's pretty evenly matched. I don't know why they're catching 3.5 points. I don't get the spread.
Yeah, I get it.
Prop looks. I may look at DJ Moore receiving yards.
Marshawn Lattimore looked pretty good last week.
So did DJ Moore, though. He's so good.
Yeah, and I had him written down, but I don't know if he's getting a ton of Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know how much I love it. And then you also have the factor that if the Panthers have a ton of success running the ball, you
I
might
know
only
they
get
won't throw it.
20 to 25 pass attempts. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill rush yards.
Yeah, that's 14 carries last week. I think that was a season high, 9 the week before that, 7 the week before that. So he's been like somewhat consistently involved. So I don't know. We'll see where that opens up at.
That game was so painful as an Eagles fan. It's like, all right, here comes Taysom Hill on 3rd and 2 again. I wonder what's going to happen.
Dude, I've been saying it for how long have I been saying
this
for? It's like every time he comes in here, defense is like shocked. He might just be that good. Like the dude runs so hard. I used to really not like him, but I mean, it's hard to not have some respect for the guy.
Oh yeah,
he just really embraces his role.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving right along here, we have the New England Patriots against the Buffalo Bills. Bills are down to a 7-point home favorite. The over-under is 42.5. Weather expected to be in the mid-30s. No wind, so no real trouble there. Patriots need a win to keep their playoff hopes alive. We're not exactly sure what the scenario is here for the Buffalo Bills. They may need this game to stay alive for the 1 seed. They may need this game and to keep the 2 seed from the Bengals. They may not need this game at all. We don't exactly know here, but I guess we'll operate under the assumption that they're going to play this game and try hard. Jacoby Myers, Marcus Jones, Devontae Parker, Jalen Mills, and Jonnu Smith all questionable for the Patriots, and then Micah Hyde out for the Bills. I don't have a play on this one just with kind of all the uncertainty. If you told me that the Bills needed this game for playoff seeding, I would absolutely love them in teasers. Outside of that, probably not a play here. Maybe if we got some kind of news that like the Bills were going to rest players and we could grab the Patriots at 7 before it moved. But like even then, it's still the Patriots and Mac Jones and an inept offense. I don't know. Do you have any strong takes here?
I took the Patriots.
Did you?
I did.
God.
Like you said, you have the scenario where the Bills don't have to play guys, and then other than that, like I hate to use this situation as like a betting handicap, but how focused is anyone on preparing for this game?
Yeah.
There still hasn't been a firm update on exactly what's going on and what's to be expected. Who knows what's going to come within the next few days? So to me, I just can't see this locker room and team just sitting down preparing for this game like normal. With what's going on, and I don't know, are there guys still in Cincinnati right now? So I don't know. I just think from that standpoint, then you have the scenario where the Bills don't play guys that I think it's worth grabbing a piece of the 7. If it ends up changing, whatever, then you can always reassess later on. But I grabbed it at 7.5. It already dropped to 7, so I'd recommend grabbing a piece of it. And if you don't love it by the end of the week, you can buy out and eat the juice or something, but I think it's worth it.
I think your logic makes sense. I just feel like it could be one of those bets where you're going to end up holding it, and then the game's going to start, and you're going to watch Mac Jones take the first.
I mean, that's fine,
and you're just going to hate your life.
It might happen because the Patriots are a flat out bad team. Like they're not a good team. I want to see this. I saw something I think a couple weeks ago about like the disparity in offensive points scored and like special teams and defense. I forget what it was, but again now, like
I think they have to be number one.
I'm pretty sure the defense and special teams is outscoring their offense, which obviously not a sustainable model to win games over a period of time. But not really a bet on the Patriots per se, more of just a bet against what the Bills are going through right now.
Yeah, for sure, that makes sense. Prop looks for you in this one. I don't think I will have absolutely anything.
I concur.
All right. Go on to our next game here on the rundown. If I could find it, let's go to the Vikings and the Bears. The Bears are 7.5-point home underdogs with the news that Justin Fields is going to be out today and Nathan Peterman will be getting the start at quarterback for Chicago. The total is down to 43.5. Weather in the mid-30s, no wind. The Vikings are still playing for seeding, and Kevin O'Connell said the team is going to play their starters and try and get back on track after a pretty rough performance against the Packers last week. The Vikings will be down 2 offensive linemen. Their center and right tackle both going to be out for this one. And then in addition to Fields, the Bears are also going to be likely without 3 members of their offensive line, 2 cornerbacks, both out, Kindle Vildor and Jalen Johnson. And then, like I said, Peterman taking over at quarterback on this brutal offense already. Do you have a play on this one at the current numbers of Vikings laying 7.5?
Yeah, I think you can just tease it if you missed
Yeah.
the move. The Vikings should win this game, no problem. Now, I can't promise it's not going to come down to a last-second field goal, even if it is Nathan Peterman, because the Vikings will surely find a way if there was ever a team that was going to.
Yeah.
But the team was already a disaster with Fields. They only put up 10 points last week against the Lions with Fields. I can't imagine. Yeah. Nate Peterman is gonna the Vikings defense is bad, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Bears scored less than 10 points here. So Vikings and teasers, I think, is your best bet here.
Nathan Peterman's career stats: he has played in 11 games. He has 598 passing yards, 3 touchdowns to 13 interceptions, a 52% completion percentage, and a quarterback rating of 32. His last start was in what?
It's just like mind-boggling that a guy like that is still on an NFL roster.
How's he even a backup?
This doesn't make sense.
His last start in 2018 versus the Bears, they lost 41-9, and he threw 3 interceptions. I mean, this is about as bad as it could be, and he comes into the worst offense imaginable with weapons that might not even make an NFL roster.
And missing 3 offensive linemen.
I mean, it's just like you can't.
Fields was mobile. Fields was obviously mobile, so he can at least make something of it when
he was the offense. I mean, anything that happened was because Fields ran out of the pocket that did something great. I mean, just I don't know what else to say.
Might bet some Viking sack props, honestly.
Yeah.
Like a Zadarius Smith. Yeah, exactly. Might be a pretty decent bet.
I think he was on that contract incentive list too, I feel like.
Was he?
I feel like he was.
We'll that could be a great bet.
Yeah, for sure. Also going to be looking at Justin Jefferson receiving yards for sure. We'll see where this one opens up, but he is 193 yards, I think, away from the single season receiving record held by Calvin Johnson. So I think that was actually offered at DraftKings and FanDuel around 10-1. So I grabbed a piece of that. Obviously, it's unlikely, but Jefferson's going to be gunning for it after a complete no-show last week against Jair Alexander, basically getting clowned the entire game. So I'll take Jefferson over yards and probably just ladder it up to see him break the record, and we'll see if he can do it.
Okay.
Anything for you?
Nope.
All right, let's go to we have the Ravens and the Bengals. So this is the last game of the 1:00 slate here. The Bengals are laying 7 points at home. The over-under is 41.5. Lamar Jackson missed practice again today. It's trending like he's going to miss yet another week, and it'll be Tyler Huntley again. And then Marcus Peters, Calais Campbell, both questionable. Devin Duvernay out. And for the Bengals, Sam Hubbard questionable, and offensive lineman La'el Collins out. This game is for the AFC North division. So if the Bengals win, they will win the division. And
if the Bengals get a tie, they win the division, right? For the Bills game.
Crap. We have to do this. Yeah, I think you're right. So this is another one where we need to know what happens.
Exactly. So the Bengals, if that game is just called a tie, the Bengals and Bills have nothing to play for, I believe.
Right, because the Bengals would be 11-4-1, and the best the Ravens get to would be 11-6 or 11-5-1 versus 11. So yeah, the Bengals would win the division if that game doesn't.
If that game's in a tie, so the Bengals have nothing to play for, which makes you wonder why that Chargers line's moving so much. Because if the Bengals rest guys,
makes you wonder why the Ravens are getting 7 points. But then would the Ravens have anything to play for?
Yeah, they would be playing for the 5 seed, which is a big deal because then you end up playing the AFC South winner instead of having to play the Bengals in the playoffs. So yeah, you could either play. So if you're the 5 seed, you're playing, assuming things go according to the spreads, you'd be playing Jacksonville or Tennessee, we'll just say, instead of playing the Bengals or
the Bills.
Instead of playing the Bengals if they're locked in.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially I think what we need to do right now, in case that happens, is you need to parlay Ravens +7. And is it Chargers?
Chargers
plus
and
2.5?
Chargers plus 2.5, yeah.
Because the Chargers would need to win then to pass the Ravens
if the Ravens
because they have to keep pace with them. Yes, because we're assuming that so it's Ravens money line and Chargers money line.
And Chargers money line, yeah. So that would be your parlay because if the Ravens win,
that pays
the Chargers are a 425 game. So if the Ravens win, the Chargers will have to play to win.
Okay, so if the scenario holds that we're saying, and you parlay Chargers and Ravens money line right now, that is +677 on FanDuel.
Okay. I think you got to do it right now because these lines are moving like crazy. And I feel like at any point it could come out that game.
Because I really don't think they're going to finish the Bengals-Bills game. Like, unless they move the entire playoffs, there's just no way to play it. There's just no time to play it.
I agree.
And it's not like they have to. It's not like either team is like on the brink of missing or making the playoffs. Like, they're already in. Like, the seeding, like, whatever. I don't think the Bills are going to be like losing their minds if they get the 2 seed versus the 1. Like, I don't know if they would really care that much.
Well, the 1 seed's a pretty big deal, but
I mean, it is. But like, if you're the Bills, would you want the game to be replayed and like have to maybe potentially play on a short week if you lose? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. But look, if Burrow's not playing, then the Ravens are a fantastic bet. As bad as their offense is, I think their defense is pretty good enough to. Who's their backups? It's still like Kyle Allen or
Brandon Allen.
Brandon Allen. Sorry, Brandon.
I think that's
Allen.
him. I would assume.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, Tyler Huntley can pull one out 9-6 in that scenario.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so are we doing that?
I'm in. I just bet it.
All right, I am in. Let's do it.
All right. Any other thoughts on this game?
No, I feel like it was a pretty in-depth conversation.
I think we came upon a pretty good outcome there.
I feel like we're going to listen to this tomorrow and realize we're like dead wrong about these playoff scenarios.
These are just the most complicated scenarios ever. I mean,
it makes sense when I'm looking at it right now, but
I spent like 25 minutes yesterday charting out the common opponents of Bengals and Bills to try and get to the fourth tiebreaker, and it ends up in another tie. I'm like, what's happening?
My God.
All right, moving on to the 4 o'clock slate here in the NFC East, we have the Philadelphia Eagles against the New York Giants. The Eagles are laying 14 points at home. The over-under is 42.5. Eagles need this win to clinch the number 1 seed in the NFC. The Giants are already locked into their spot in the wild card. It did sound like Daboll was kind of going back and forth on playing the starters. He didn't really come out and say it. It does sound like Jalen Hurts will be back at quarterback for the Eagles. They will be without Josh Sweat, and then Avonte Maddox and CJ GJ are both questionable here. For me, this game is Giants or pass, probably taking them live, I think is the best scenario. The Eagles are extremely incentivized to win this game. That doesn't mean they're extremely incentivized to win this game by margin. So if they're up by 20 points in the third quarter, I think they probably start to pull the starters because yes, they want to get them some reps because they would have the bye week in that scenario, but Jalen Hurts is already coming off an injury. I don't think you need him in the fourth quarter up 27-0. I think they would pull the starters here. And I also kind of like the over 42.5. Even if the starters are pulled here, you would have Gardner Minshew against Tyrod Taylor, 2 of the best backups in the league. I know you're a big Tyrod Taylor guy. So I thought 42.5 was a little bit low here, regardless of the scenario of who's playing, who's not. So that's kind of my attack plan here. What do you have?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's definitely Giants or pass. I'm not fully convinced that the Giants don't come out and play their starters a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, 14 points. It's just pretty much, it's just all speculation. But yeah, like you said, if that's the case, and the Eagles, I don't think like the Eagles aren't just going to pull guys unless they're up like what? Probably like 4 scores, 3 scores, maybe.
Like if you're up 3 in the third quarter, 2 in the fourth, you could pull them.
Yeah. So yeah, I like your live betting idea, but other than that, I'm pretty much not going to touch this game with a 10-foot pole.
Like if the Eagles got 14-0 early and you get the Giants like plus 20.5 or something, like then I think you really, I mean, that's
Tyrod, man. I've been waiting for Tyrod all season. You kidding me?
It's the reason we bet the win total over. This is the game where we find out.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor gave this team a nice floor in case Daniel Jones didn't work out.
Like
or
3 snaps in London and got concussed. I don't think we've seen him since. This
He's
is his
a rough
moment.
Go. He'd be the Chargers starting quarterback right now if he didn't puncture that. If the trainer didn't puncture that long.
Yeah, they would have won the Super Bowl that year too with Anthony Lynn.
Yes, correct.
Probably no props for me in this one. Maybe Devontae Smith. We'll see where his line's at, but he's been some of that was with Minshew, though. I don't know. Devontae Smith's been awesome. He's been lined too low. I bet him over 2 weeks in a row, and he's been over. But it's a little bit tough with Hurts coming back and the potential that maybe he doesn't play the final snaps of the game. So that was my only thought.
Yeah, I got nothing.
All right. Next game here, we have the Rams and the Seahawks. Seahawks laying 6.5 points at home in Seattle. Over under is 41.5. Weather in the high 40s, but it does look like a high chance of rain here. Seahawks need a win and a Packers loss to get the final wildcard spot, but obviously the Packers don't play till Sunday Night Football, so they will be going all out here for the win. Aaron Donald, questionable for the Rams, and Jordan Brooks, stud linebacker for the Seahawks, is done for the year here. Do you have a play on this one, side or total?
Oh boy, do I. This is my must win doesn't win mean will win, and will win doesn't mean will cover game of the week, because I love the Rams here. I think this is probably 2 or 3 points too high. Despite the win versus the Jets, Seattle still has major holes, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Baker's taking care of the ball since he's come to LA. He's only thrown 1 interception in 4 games. And I think part of that is this newfound running game with Cam Akers. Those are words I never thought I would say in my life.
Who would have thought?
Rushed for over 100 yards in the last 2 games, and that's Seattle's biggest issue. So I think you're going to get a heavy dose of Cam Akers here that can keep this team in the game. Seattle's offense has not been as prolific, I guess you could say, it was at points earlier in the season. I think the Rams can grind out some drives here on the ground. Seattle hasn't scored more than 24 points in 4 straight games, and I think the Rams are capable of getting to like 17, 20 points here against this defense, which is well within range to what I think should cover this game. So love the Rams here at 6.5.
Imagine if someone told you like 6 weeks ago that you would utter the words, Baker Mayfield's been taking care of the ball. You're going to see a heavy dose of Cam Akers.
I know, right?
And that's why I love the Rams. But I agree with everything you said here. I've been patiently waiting for a 7 just in case we get it. I think that would be an automatic bet. But even if it sticks at 6.5, I'm going to be in on the Rams here as well. I think you made all the great points there. These two teams just played a couple weeks ago, 27-23 game. And that was with John Wolford. So Baker's a little bit of an upgrade there. I think it's going to be a close game. And I also played the over at 41. I think both these offenses could have some success. Jordan Brooks was the number 1 tackler for the Seahawks, so another boost to Cam Akers in this run game. So I thought the total was a little bit low, and I think the Rams keep it a lot closer than people think. I even could see them winning the game outright. I may even do a little
completely
Rams,
agree.
Lions money line parlay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Props in this one, probably nothing for me.
Cam Akers.
Rush yards?
Yeah, 19 for 123 last week, 23 for 118 the week before. He's averaged over 5 yards per carry in 3 straight games. Like you said, the Brooks injury is huge. So I can't believe I'm ending the regular season with a Cam Akers rushing prop, which will probably be one of my favorite props on the board, depending on where it's lined.
Okay. If you're in, I'm in. I like it. All right, next game up on the 4:30 slate. We have the Chargers and the Broncos here. The Broncos are a lot of line movement in this game. The Broncos are now laying 2.5 points at home. They were 3 to 3.5 point dogs all week. Big movement on this one late. The over-under is 39.5. We think the Chargers are still battling for seeding in the AFC. There's a chance that if the Ravens lose, that they're then locked into their seed and they could rest starters. There's also a chance that that doesn't happen. So we're not entirely sure what the situation is here, but yeah, so obviously keep that in mind if you're betting the game here. Derwin James, questionable for the Chargers. DJ Jones, Baron Browning, questionable for the Broncos. We're still trying to process all this information. Do you have a play on this one, Chargers or Broncos? Because my whole handicap is kind of flipping upside down now that the Chargers could potentially not need to play here.
Yeah, other than the parlay we just put in with the Ravens a few seconds ago.
Right, I think that makes total sense.
But both these teams have been kind of sneaky at covering the spread. Chargers are 3-1-1 in the last 5 games. Denver's actually 4-1 against the spread in the last 5. Obviously, Denver hung around with the Chiefs last week, and you know they seem to be playing hard after basically packing in against the Rams. You know, I don't know if this whole rallying around a Russ thing is just kind of for show, but I don't know. It's kind of tough to get a feel for this game, especially like you said, with the unknown with if the Chargers will really even be playing for anything here. So probably just a pass for me.
Yeah, I was going to make a pretty strong case for the over here. I like that a lot, especially under 40. But now that we don't really know if it's going to be, I mean, I don't like the over if it's going to be Chase Daniel and Jalen Guyton out there. No. So if we do get news that the Chargers have to win this game and they do play their starters ever, I'll probably play the over now that we've seen some life from the Denver offense. But this one's kind of tough here, given the circumstances.
Yeah.
Probably no props in this one either. Maybe Keenan and Allen receptions if the Chargers do end up getting the game, or maybe the books just won't offer it like last week because that was fun.
He wouldn't have hit, which is good. I think he only had like 4 receptions or something.
That's true. Saved us from ourselves, I guess.
Yes.
Be nice if they could just offer props for the best players.
If I want to lose money on a prop, at least give me the option.
Yeah. Well, ridiculous. All right, next game up here, we have the Arizona Cardinals against the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are laying 14 points at home. The over-under is 40.5. The Niners are still alive in the 1 seed for the NFC, so they will be playing all their guys here. Buda Baker, DeAndre Hopkins, both out for this one for the Cardinals. James Conner, Robbie Anderson, questionable. And it will be David Blau again at quarterback for the Niners. CMC, Debo, and Dre Greenlaw, all questionable here. For me, this is kind of a similar game to the Giants and Eagles one. It's Cardinals or pass, and it's probably a live betting situation, thinking that the Niners, if they do go up big, they're definitely going to pull some guys. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, they're going to try and limit his workload because they're likely not going to have that bye because the Eagles are going to win that game versus the Giants. So it's probably Cardinals live bet. And if you maybe bet it now, just take them plus 14. What do you have?
Yeah, I'm looking at this game as a social event. Any social event I go to, my motto is get in and get out as quick as possible. And I think that's how the 49ers are approaching this game. They just want to get in.
That's the best motto I've ever heard.
I just think that's how the 49ers are going to approach this game. They're not looking to run it up or anything. So I think they get to a comfortable lead here. They grind the clock away. So if that's the scenario, it's a lean to the Cardinals. Again, I like your approach of the live betting, but yeah, Cardinals are pass here for me.
That may have been my favorite line of the whole season. Like a social event, get in and get out as quick as possible.
It's what it is.
Couldn't agree more. Me and you share brain on that philosophy.
Yes, yes.
Not very social people. That's
no.
All right, Cardinals social event live betting play here. That's what we're going to be looking at. Props in this one, probably nothing. I think what was it? I think Trey McBride saw a decent amount. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but I know he saw a ton of targets from David Blau. So it's obviously iffy with a rookie tight end who hasn't really done anything all season, but maybe him and Blau have some kind of a connection. So maybe you could look at him, even though the Niners are a tough matchup versus tight ends. But that was the only real thought I had here on props.
Yeah, I don't love anything against this Niners defense. I know they had a bad week last week, but we have a season's worth of data saying they're arguably the best defense in the league. So it could be a situation where the Cardinals really can't move the ball at all and don't even have a ton of plays on offense to support any props. So probably nothing for me here.
All right, last game in the 4:30 window here. We have the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Washington Footballs. The Footballs are 7 to 7.5 point home dogs. The over/under is 40.5. Cowboys still alive to win the NFC East with an Eagles loss. Leighton Vander Esch and Tony Pollard questionable for the Cowboys. For the Footballs, they have announced Sam Howell will be the new starting quarterback. Yet another one for the Footballs this season.
Wait, no. I thought they said Heineke's starting, but Howell's going to work in.
No, so they said that initially, then they actually did another report a couple hours later saying actually Sam Howell's just going to start the game. So I don't know why they said the one this morning, but yeah, so it's going to be Howell. And then Jonathan Allen, Cameron Curl, Antonio Gibson, and Benjamin St-Juste are all questionable for the Footballs. Do you have any thoughts on this one side or total for Cowboys and Footballs?
Yeah, I think another pretty safe teaser leg, I would say. I don't think I'd lay the 7.5. I don't know. Like, I have some respect for this Washington front seven, but the secondary is pretty suspect where I think Dak could have a monster game. But the Cowboys have really been concerning in some matchups. Like oh my God, them not covering the -6 in the first half last week was just freaking brutal. Really just like, I feel like my reluctance to this Cowboys team, I've been saying for weeks, is Dak. He just cannot take care of the ball. It doesn't matter what kind of defense they're playing. I think it's interceptions in all but maybe one game this year or two games this year. So that's just my reluctance in laying any points with this team right now. But I got to think against Sam Howell. I feel comfortable saying they're a safe bet. But wait, so if the Eagles win, the Cowboys then have nothing to play for, correct?
Correct. Yeah, they would be locked into the top wild card spot here.
All right, so then maybe I don't even know if I'd tease the Cowboys because then you end up getting. I forgot even to factor that part in. God,
why wouldn't you tease them?
Well, because if they're not playing for anything, then it's just Cooper Rush versus.
They're playing at the same time as the Eagles, though. They're not going to know.
No, this is a 4:25 game.
So is the Eagles.
Oh, the Eagles is 4:25.
Yeah, they're both in the late window.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all the Niners, all those teams are all the same.
So yeah, I'd tease the Cowboys though. That's about it though.
I like the Cowboys team total over. I think it's my favorite bet. You could find them in the first half. If you want to go over 10.5 there for the game, you can still find a 23.5. I think those are pretty low. This is a Cowboys offense that has scored 27 points in eight straight games. They've averaged 34.8 points per game since their bye week. They've really been rolling even despite the Dak turnovers. They just have so many different ways they can beat you on the ground through the air here. So I think even if you're worried about pulling the starters in the second half, math, take them in the first half. If you just want to play the whole game, I think that's fine too. But I think this total is a little bit too low for a Cowboys offense. It's just been on fire.
Okay.
Props here, probably. I mean, it's hard with the football. Maybe you look at Brian Robinson rush yards, if Gibson's out again, or rush attempts. But outside of that, it's kind of tough.
I think you kind of have to look at CeeDee Lamb on the Cowboys side. Commanders still have a pretty good run defense, and CeeDee Lamb's just been a monster over the last 3 weeks, 100, 120, and 126 yards. He saw 14, 11 targets the last 2 weeks. So clearly Dak's favorite target right now. So I'll be looking at him. Where was
Especially
this production?
Pollard's out.
Yeah, if this production was there all season, my what was it, like 80-1 ticket might have had life for Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, it's a bummer he did nothing for the first 6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, well, Cooper Rush being in
didn't help. Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, that's another thing. If you bet the Cowboys team total for the full game, I mean, Cooper Rush comes in, one of the best backups in the league. I still think you feel fine with that.
Yeah.
All right, last game on the slate here, the Sunday Night Football game, the Detroit Lions against the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are laying 4.5 points in Lambeau. The over-under is 49.5 here. The Packers are win and in the NFC playoffs. The Lions would need a Seahawks loss. Unfortunately, that game is earlier in the day, so they will know their fate going into this game. And if you go by the point spread, it's probably not going to be a good one, but still expecting these guys to play hard. Safety Deshaun Elliott is questionable for the Lions, and then Christian Watson monitor his status, but it sounds like he should be good to go for the Packers. No other injury notes here. Do you have a play on this one, side or total?
Yeah. So from a spot perspective, you just gotta like Green Bay to win the game. Playoffs on the line. Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau against the Lions. Like, it's just a great spot, but 4.5 points, I'm kind of leaning to the Lions, but I think I'm gonna wait, because if Seattle loses, I think we could see some money come in on Green Bay that could potentially push this up to like 6. And if that's the case, I'll definitely take the Lions at 6, because even if they're not playing for anything, this isn't, this has never been a team to lay down, and obviously they'd want to still ruin the Packers playoff hopes. So definitely concerned about the Lions run defense, but they held up pretty fine last week outside of Justin Fields, obviously a running threat at quarterback for Green Bay. And the Green Bay defense we've seen struggle a ton this season against the run game and at times against the pass. The first matchup between these teams, Green Bay probably should have won the game. They definitely outplayed the Lions, and the box score definitely backs that up. It was really the implosion of Aaron Rodgers with the red zone interceptions that was the difference, obviously.
Dude, when you see Aiden Hutchinson ball hawking out there, I mean, there's only so much you can do. The guy's an interception machine.
Three interceptions in it. I still can't see what his odds are now for
apparently the market just doesn't exist anymore. You can't bet it.
Yeah, but I like the Packers to win, but the line is just not somewhere I feel comfortable laying it with them. So it's a lean to the Lions in terms of the spread right now. I don't mind like parlaying Packers money line with like another favorite that gets you to like -110 if you feel good about it, because I do think they win. But yeah, from a spread perspective, wait for the Lions and see if it gets to 6 if the Seahawks win.
I do like your thought about waiting. I am going to do that as well. I did take the Lions at +4.5 just because I didn't want to lose the numbers. I thought it was valuable, but I do think if this was before we even knew what time the games were. But if the Seahawks do end up winning, I do think maybe you could see some movement. But I still believe in this Lions team. I still think they're a better team than the Packers are. I think this number is way inflated. They are a better team than the Green Bay Packers, 100%. Okay. I believe that to be true, and I think they're going to show it on Sunday Night Football, and I think they're going to win this game outright. I believe in this Lions team. They're going to get it done. I don't know if they're going to make it into the playoffs, but I think they crush the Packers' souls on Sunday Night Football, and Jared Goff takes down Aaron Rodgers in the final game of his career.
Do a little Rams-Lions money line parlay then.
I will certainly have that in the account. I love it. All right. That'll wrap up our game-by-game breakdown.
Props.
Oh, props in this final game. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll be looking at Sun God again. We didn't take him last week because he was at 7.5, but he only had 4 receptions, so I think there's a chance this dips back down to 6.5. And anytime he's at 6.5 receptions, you take him over. So, been profitable for us pretty much since midway through last year. So, Sun God 6.5 receptions.
All right, I like it. Anything left to say?
Nope.
Okay, at this point, we will now go to our final segment of the show. We will give out our long shots favorite bets of the week. And, I guess there's no look ahead lines this week. I just realized we have nothing to look ahead to.
Nope.
That's kind
The
of depressing.
unknown.
The playoffs. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right, so long shots of the week here. Our favorite bets priced at plus 200 or greater. I will give you the honors. What do you got?
Yeah, I am going to go with my guy, Cam Akers, 100 yards and a touchdown. Surely this will not end in disaster. Like we've been saying, the Seahawks run defense, one of the worst units in the league now, missing their leading tackler. Akers has been over 100 yards in the last 2 games, scored 3 touchdowns 2 games ago. So I think the Rams can have some success moving the ball and get in scoring position here. So Cam Akers, 100 yards and a touchdown.
Man, I love it. That's awesome. Fantastic. I mean, you're going to get great odds on that too.
I know.
That could be like plus 500.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be in on that with you.
All right.
For my long shot of the week, I'm going to go with my favorite underdog parlayed with my favorite on the week in a little money line parlay. So I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers at plus 160 and then the Minnesota Vikings around minus 330. On FanDuel right now, that's at plus 238. So a Vikings and Panthers money line parlay. I think, pretty obvious why the Vikings are going to win, taking care of Nathan Peterman. And I think the Panthers, I just think they're a better team than the Saints. I think it's a toss-up game. I think they're playing hard for Steve Wilkes, and I feel really good about them closing out the season with a nice victory. So parlay them together, and that'll be my
So you're parlaying the Vikings and the Panthers?
Vikings and Panthers money line parlay.
You're such a Go to a minus 350 part. Yeah, you're such a freaking loser. Sorry.
It's plus 238. What's the problem?
I know. It's just like,
look, I wanted to play the Panthers in some way, but the problem is they're only.
Are you sure you don't want to do like Panthers and an all under of 75.5 or something? Like you did with that Taysom Hill play.
No, because typically what we do is you would add a prop in there, but the problem is the Panthers are so hard to figure out. And I'm not going to be an idiot like you and be like, Deontay Foreman touchdown machine. Deontay Foreman touchdown the Panthers money.
He still should have scored in that game. I don't want to hear it.
Rather bet Rashid Blackshear to score with. That guy's name
apparently it would have.
I'll get more goal line carries than Deontay Foreman.
Apparently.
So look, the idea was I like the Panthers money line. I needed something to get it up to plus 200. So I went with the Vikings because they're going to win as well. So that's what I got. We also gave you a nice plus 670 of Ravens and Chargers. You want to take that one as well?
Yes.
Giving out some long shots here. All right. It's enough of that. Our favorite bets of the week to close out the show. I don't know where you're going here, so I'm curious to hear it. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm doubling down here. I'm taking the Rams at plus 6.5. This one just
this
one just jumped off the page to me. I just think this must-win scenario for the Seahawks is just garnering them too much respect. I mean, this was a team that was spiraling over the last 6 weeks up until the win last week against the Jets. Like I said, I think the Rams can have success on the ground here to keep it close, get to that 20 points-ish, which to me will be enough to cover this spread. So, give me the Rams at plus 6.5. And like you said earlier, I think they have a chance to win this game outright.
All right. Did not expect this much Rams love today. My goodness.
Neither did I.
All right, for my favorite bet of the week, I'm going to be going with the Pittsburgh Steelers at minus 2.5. Been riding this team quite a bit in the second half of the season, but I think they're going to get the job done here. I trust Mike Tomlin. I trust this coaching staff to take care of business here at home, do what they need to do to keep themselves alive for the playoff. Hopefully they end up getting in. Hopefully the Patriots lose because no one wants to see that team in the playoffs. So Kenny Pickett in the clutch, have faith in him. And Deshaun Watson is going to have a really, really tough time with TJ Watt and the secondary coming after him all game. So I'll take the Steelers to take care of business at home at 2.5.
All right. Good luck. I don't love it.
I mean, it's hard this week. I have so many bets in that, the line moves so many points. So it's tough right now with the, there's I like the Bucks at plus 4.5 as a value, but it's it's hard to make a case that it's my favorite bet. So I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. That would have been my second behind the Rams.
I agree. All right. Anything left to say for final week of the season?
No, it's bittersweet because I'm pretty excited about the playoffs, but I'm gonna miss having the full slate of games. Season's going by so quick.
Yeah, gonna be without a lot of these teams coming up next week.
I have I just kind of sometimes think what do my Sundays look like not during football season?
It's a scary thought.
It's like being a functioning member of society on a Sunday. It just seems like a foreign concept.
Yeah, we're gonna be real depressed the first few weeks, just wandering around the house. What am I supposed to be doing right now? It's this void.
You have a new baby to keep you occupied.
I guess.
Yeah.
Rather have a new baby watching football with me.
That's correct.
All right. Well, thank you everyone out there for tuning in all season long. We had a blast doing it. We will, of course, be back next week for the playoffs and with you up until the Super Bowl champion is crowned this year. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at BetRightPod. The DMs are open. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Smash the like button on YouTube. The link to the YouTube video will be in the description of this podcast or on our YouTube page. From Jeff and Rue, we are the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast, because every time you bet with us, you bet right.